Hello everyone, this is Andrew from Crown Academy of English. Today we are doing a lesson with exercises about allow and permit. So watch the video and then do the exercises at the end. There are 4 exercises. So we have 2 verbs. They are verbs, allow and permit. So allow, and the past simple is allowed with ed at the end, and the past participle is also allowed. Permit, and the past simple is permitted. Don't forget it's a double T. And the past participle is the same. Permitted. Double T-E-D. So, what is the meaning? Well, the general meaning of these 2 verbs is meaning 1, give permission to do something. Okay, so to give the authorization to do something. Okay, so in other words, to say yes, you can do that. Okay, the second meaning is to make it possible for somebody to do something. Okay, so to make it possible for something to happen, to facilitate an action. Okay, so it's 2 distinct meanings. So they both have the same meaning, in fact. However, permit is more formal. So this is more formal than allow. Allow is more common. Okay, so I would say allow is probably the most important. But permit is, so permit is more formal. Permit and allow, they use the same structures. So let's look at them in detail. So we have allow or permit followed by the ing form of a verb. So this is the most basic structure. Example. The company allows smoking in the car park. Or the company permits smoking in the car park. Okay, so in other words, the company gives permission for smoking in the car park. The company authorizes smoking in the car park. In other words, it is okay to smoke in the car park. Okay? In the negative, the company does not allow smoking in the office, or the company does not permit smoking in the office. Okay, so both of these are okay. So, okay. The teacher does not allow talking in the exam room, or the teacher does not permit talking in the exam room. Okay, so we have permit or allow followed by the ing form of the verb. Okay. Now we can have a slightly more complicated structure. So we have allow or permit followed by an object, and then we have an infinitive. Example. The company allows employees to smoke in the car park, or the company permits employees to smoke in the car park. So the object is the person to whom we are giving the permission. Okay, so we are being this. So this is more specific. We are specifying the person that is receiving the permission, and this is the action, and this time it is in the infinitive. It's not the ing form. Second example, the company does not allow employees to smoke in the office. So here we have the negative. Or the company does not permit employees to smoke in the office. So we have the verb, the object, and the infinitive. The new office will allow the company to grow, or the new office will permit the company to grow. This is an example of the second meaning. So this and this, the meaning here is permission or authorization. But here, this means that the new office will make it possible for the company to grow. The new office will facilitate the growth of the company. Okay, remember at the beginning of this lesson I said there are two meanings of allow and permit. Well, this is the second meaning. It means that it makes something possible. So the new office will allow the company to grow. Another example, the money will allow me to buy a car, or the money will permit me to buy a car. So again, the money will make it possible for me to buy a car. It will help me to buy a car. Okay, so this is not the meaning of permission or authorization. It is the meaning of making something possible. Okay. Now, the passive voice. Allow and permit, we very often use it in the passive voice. Okay, it's very, very common. The passive voice is more common than the active voice for these two verbs. And we have two common structures in the passive. This is the first one. Gerund followed by the verb be, followed by the past participle of allow or the past participle of permit. So the gerund, this is an ing form of a verb. So this is the ing form of a verb acting as a noun. So here is an example. So here we have the gerund, which is the ing form of a verb, and it is acting as a noun. Okay, so it's an action. Smoking is allowed in the car park. Okay, so smoking is authorized, is permitted in the car park. And in the negative, smoking is not allowed in the office, or smoking is not permitted in the office. So we have the gerund, we have the verb be. Notice this is in the third person singular, because this is an action, and it's one action. So it's one action, so it's the third person singular of the verb be. And then we have the past participle of allow or permit. So we have allowed or permitted. So this never changes. This is always the same. And this is always the third person singular, is. Okay? Talking is not allowed in the exam room, or talking is not permitted in the exam room. Okay? So as I say, the passive is very, very common for these two verbs. Now we can put this in the question form simply by reversing the subject or the gerund and the verb be. So we simply reverse these two. Is smoking allowed in the meeting room? This is something we could ask if we go into an office and we ask the manager, is smoking allowed in the meeting room? Or is smoking permitted in the meeting room? Is talking allowed in the exam room? Is talking permitted in the exam room? Okay, so we've just simply changed the order here. So the gerund goes here and the verb be goes at the beginning. And it's always, with this structure, it's always third person singular is. Okay? And if we wanted to change the tense, if we wanted to put it in the past, we conjugate the verb be, third person singular, in the past or the future. So if it was the past, we would say, was smoking permitted in the meeting room? And if we wanted to say in the future, we would say, will smoking be allowed in the meeting room? Okay? And the second structure in the passive voice is we have a person, the verb be, followed by the past participle, followed by the infinitive. Example, you are allowed to smoke in the car park, or you are permitted to smoke in the car park. Person, the verb be. So here we have you, so second person. This could be singular or plural, doesn't matter. And are, so this is, yes, this is the second person, singular or plural. You are allowed to smoke in the car park. Okay, so we always have the past participle, and then we have the infinitive. Students are not allowed to talk in the exam room. Students are not permitted to talk in the exam room. So here we have the negative. And the question 4, okay, again, we just simply reverse the order. We inverse the subject or the person with the verb be. So here we're asking a question in the third person plural. Are we allowed to smoke? Are we permitted to smoke? And here we have a question, and it is in the third person plural. Are students allowed to talk in the exam room? Or are students permitted to talk in the exam room? Okay, so we have the verb be, the person, past participle, and the infinitive. And when it's a question, we write the question mark at the end. So the passive voice is very, very common in when we use allow and permit. Okay, there are 4 exercises for you. This is exercise 1. Complete the sentences. So here is sentence 1. So what goes here? And you have 3 choices. Okay. And here is number 2. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds or 10 seconds, and then I'll give you the answers. Okay, so the answer to number 1 is, my mum allows me to watch television. It's the infinitive. And number 2, well, it's the same. My father permits me to play football. To play football. This structure takes the infinitive. Exercise 2. Complete the sentences in the passive voice. So here's question number 1. And here's number 2. And I'll give you 5 seconds. If you need more, pause the video. Okay, I'm going to give you the answers now. So the answer to number 1, talking is not allowed in the library. So this is gerund. Remember, we said that we have a gerund in the passive voice. And the answer to number 2 is the same. It's the gerund, the ing form. Fishing is permitted in the lake. Exercise 3. Complete the sentences in the passive voice. So there's number 1 and there's number 2. Okay, so read them very carefully and I'll pause the video if you need time. I'll give you the answers in 5 seconds. Okay, so number 1. The answer is allowed. You are allowed to sit on the grass. So this is the past participle of allow. And number 2. Yesterday, Mark was permitted to leave early. So this was an important word here, yesterday. So this tells us that it is in the past. So we're looking for, and it is third person singular. So we need the past simple third person singular form of the verb be, which is was. So Mark was permitted, which is the past participle of permit, was permitted to leave early. Exercise 4. Again, complete the questions in the passive voice. So these are questions. Number 1 and number 2. And I'll give you 5 seconds. Pause the video if you need more time. Okay, so number 1, are we allowed to drink alcohol? Are we allowed to drink alcohol? This structure takes the infinitive. Okay, and number 2, were they allowed to bring their mobile phones yesterday? So first of all, notice that this is in the past. Why is it in the past? Well, again, we have this keyword yesterday. So that tells us it's the past. And they, this tells us that it is the third person plural. So the third person plural form in the past of the verb be is were. Were they allowed? So here we have the past participle. Were they allowed to bring their mobile phones yesterday? Okay, so there we are. That's the end of the lesson. Hope you enjoyed it. Here are some other videos which I recommend.